You're listening to Navigating Life in Spirit, Unscripted Reflections. Welcome to my second episode of Season 2, Navigating Life in Spirit. Look, I'm not going to speak a bunch about stuff that has to do with spiritual life and stuff, right? I'm going to mix it up a bit. I'm going to touch base here, touch base there, but I think in its entirety, it all goes back to spirit, right? It always goes back to being a spiritual being and being here on earth, doing the human life thing, doing the earth-bound thing, right? And I think one of the most rewarding yet challenging things is parenthood, and just the obstacles you undergo on a daily basis, right? Because the thing about parenting is you don't get a switch off button. And I know moms will, they know that more than anything. And I'm not taking away from dads and stuff, because you do have dads that are solo parents. And yeah, it's just one of those things. And I think, when I have conversations with people that are not parents yet, I always, recommend that they know themselves and they heal from, whatever traumas they may have encountered, whether it was, in early childhood or, teenhood, or even as adults, right? Because trauma shows up in it shows up in every era of your life, right? In different ways. It may not necessarily be like from your parent. It may come from your peers. It can come from complete strangers. But that's not what this is about. Anyway, so I always tell people to rather recommend to young ladies that, know yourself. And look, I say know yourself as a throwaway, right? Because we're always learning ourselves. Every day, we learn ourselves. But when I say learn, I just mean that, be in a space where you're able to show up in a less wounded way for your child. Because being a parent will activate you. It will activate you in ways that you don't even you can't even comprehend, and you find yourself in a space where you're just like, what the heck, But it can also bless you so very much, and you just, when your kiddo has done something that is outstanding, and or like the little things, the big things, and you just sit there in awe and in disbelief that, wow, that's part of me, that's linked to me, and you have that moment of pride, but you do have the challenges. So the reason why I recommend that a person take their time, opposed from learning who you are and being comfortable, you need to almost be in a stable position holistically. So you get moments where you have to show up in a safe way, right? You have to be a safe space for the kid. You have to be a safe space where you are, graceful and gentle and, nurturing and life-giving and all that. And if you are a wounded being from your own childhood, and you've experienced neglect and those kind of things show up in parenthood. They show up in the way you interact with your child. They show up in the way you think of your child. They show up in the ways that you act or you speak on your child, right? And hence I say, please be on the healing journey so that you don't... Look, you're going to pass over some generational hurts. It's bound to happen. We are ourselves 10 times over. You know what I mean? So what my 10 times grandparent went through could possibly, I could experience that, or, whatever the case is. And also, depending on what you believe. But we all know that that kind of stuff is passed down. Okay? Let's speak on more tangible, because your parent raised you a certain way, right? And their parent raised them a certain way. So that's passed down. That's what I mean when I say generational, because the way your grandmother or your grandfather raised your parent is passed down to you, right? And depending on how aware your parent is, and depending on how open to growth your parent is, it may affect you the same way or even worse, right? And that's where, as they say, conscious parenting comes in, because thankfully we are a generation that is very much plugged in. We are the generation that goes, okay, the buck stops here. I'm not carrying this on to my child. And unfortunately, you cannot stop all the traumas from reaching your child. You can only do so much. Of course your child has their own traumas that they're gonna have to face, right? Which may be directly impacted from your upbringing, but also your adulthood, right? And the decisions you've made and so you can't really shelter your child from traumas, right? But I feel like you can help them along. You can help them along by also just healing, right? Healing from your child, like I said, that stuff that I said earlier, healing from all of that, so that you can show up in a more healthier way for your child. Yes, these kids are different. They are completely different from who we were. They are more vocal, and I believe that is because that we are giving them that platform to be different with us, to be more connected with us, to us. And like I said, they're on their own journey. They're gonna fall. They're gonna trip. Again, how do you respond to them tripping? How do you react? Do you react? Do you respond? Because obviously there's a difference. And in your response, how are you showing up? Right? I feel like as solo parents, we go through the hurdles, a bit more than when you have people who are either co-parenting or who are parenting together, because it's almost like you are carrying that weight. You are carrying your weight as well as the other parent's weight, right? And with that, there's still so much more that you're experiencing as a person outside of being a parent. And sometimes you just need that you just need that moment of stillness, that moment of, I'm tired, I need rest. But like I said, when you're a solo parent, you're always switched on. You're always switched on. You don't really have a switch off button, Sure, you can go get rest. You can create those kind of moments, and I highly recommend solo parents to do that. Right? Please, I hope in every week, even every day, that you allow yourself just that moment to yourself where you are not, showing up as your job, or as a parent, or as a child, or as a sibling, or as just like for you to show up for you in that moment, to take care of you in that moment, because this journey can get tiresome, right? Because you always have to show up. And remember another thing, they watch. These kids watch. They are little sponges, the same way we were sponges, right? They are sponges, so they pick up things. They pick up certain patterns. They pick up the tone. They pick up, So it's tricky. It's tricky. It gets tricky, especially when, you're tired, you're pressured, and it's like that moment. In that moment, you almost have to always be conscious about how you come up and how you show up. But in the same breath, it's not like everything you say or everything you do is gonna be conscious. Sometimes that wounded self comes up and your child gets exposed to that. Are you even aware? Are you even aware when you, for example, shout at your child for something that they literally had nothing to do with? They just happen to be a vehicle to, show you, or rather to activate you, right? I was watching something earlier, and the person said we must stop using the word trigger and use the word activate. And I resonated so much with it, because that's exactly what happens. It activates a layer within you that was maybe dormant, or a layer within you that needs that attention, that needs for you to pay attention to how you're showing up and what you need to do. This journey, I tell you, this journey is not for the faint-hearted. You find yourself just sitting there and thinking, my golly, I'd never change it for anything, personally. I think through being a parent, I have parented myself to a degree, which I appreciate. But also I've learned who I am, how I show up in life, and in my child's life specifically, how I show up as a child to my parents, how I show up. So it's an eye opener, but it also shows me how much love I have inside. My goodness. And I am a proud parent. I know I'm good at being her mom. I know that. But there are times when I slip. There are times when I am off balance, and in that moment, I react opposed to respond. And I find myself just cringing, because why? And it almost, in that moment, when that happens, it's almost like I have I'll say higher self for now. Like, it's almost like my higher self almost sits there and goes, you could handle that differently. You could be more gentle, a little more understanding, because there are certain things that frustrate me, which I battle within myself, and it has nothing, zero, to do with how my child shows up, or what she does, or how she responds to things. You know what I mean? So parenting also forces you, and I say force, but not like that, but it allows you to be exposed to things that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to. The characteristics that are within you that you wouldn't otherwise be exposed to, and in the way that they come up. So yeah, it's my little piece on parenthood and being a solo parent, and just being cognizant of the role you play in your child's life, and how you show up, but also how you show up for yourself. Just be gentle, be graceful, be as understanding as you can be. Touch base with your child, kind of gauge where your relationship is and what you need to learn. Listen, it's not your child's responsibility to teach you what you need to learn as an individual. It is your responsibility to be aware, right? And to act on that awareness, to apply the things that come up when you are parenting, to be a better parent, to be a better individual. And when I say better, I'm not saying it's bad or whatever the case is. It is what it is. We want to always show up in the best light for ourselves, firstly, and for our kids. So, in closing, because I do go on, I'm gonna say this. You are doing amazing. You are one in a million. Yes, I know it gets tiring. And when you do get tired, call up a friend, call up a family member that can help you out, that can give you that moment so that you are able to do a reset, so you are able to center yourself and to ground yourself, because at the end of the day, you need to show up for that children. You need to show up in the best way. And if you are tired all the time, then you approach everything with tiredness. Then there's some frustration, then there's irritation, then there's aggravation for things that don't need that kind of attention, that don't need that kind of energy. So I would say rest every chance you get. Remember that you are you before you are a mom or a dad. It's important to remember that. So you need to have fun. Don't be so engulfed by the responsibilities that you have towards being a parent. Do everything that you can to remember who you are, right? Because at the end of the day, these kids are gonna grow up and you still need to remain you. You still gonna be you. So what better to look after you now, so that when the kids are grown and they have their own lives, that you did not leave you behind. Because it is you that needs to show up when you're raising them. They need to see a healthy individual before they can see a healthy parent. Right? They need to be able to look at you and aspire to be something like you. Maybe not necessarily, you specifically, but characteristics that are within you that may activate something within them, that may inspire them. And that on its own is life-giving. The nurture that comes with you nurturing yourself and giving and pouring into yourself. No one can do that for you. Only you can. So rely, depend, lean on the help that you do get. You are not alone in this. Even as a solo parent, you are not alone. There is someone out there that loves their children and who is willing to help. But you need to be open to the help in order for you to receive the help. You are amazing. Life would be very different without you. It's better with you in it. You may be tired, yes. You may feel like it's all too much. And you are absolutely right. It's a lot. It's a lot taking care of another life. It's a lot. And the fact that you're doing it and you show up every day, even when you are going through the most, the fact that you're showing up, perhaps you're not showing up in the way that you would like to, but the fact that you're aware, and it tells me that you can do something about it. This episode was to really encourage you to show up for yourself, encourage you to show up in a healthy, stable, safe way for your child, so that even when they get older, they're able to still come back to you, still call you up. Be healthy now. It makes all the difference for tomorrow. But do it more, because you have today to do these things. You have today to show up as the best version. Today counts more than you think. Be there. Even when you're tired, be there. Even when you're not feeling so great, be there. That little attention makes all the difference in the world. Parent your child the way that you would love to be parented. A counselor once told me that's not the right way to do it. And here I am telling you to do it. But I'm speaking from a person who would love, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything ill about my mom. I'm just saying the way I show up for my child is the way my inner child would thrive had I had a mom that shows up the way I show up. So be that for your child, but more so for yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, it impacts directly. Either way, how you show up and how the child shows up and how we all show up, it has a direct impact on who we are, how we move, how we respond to life, and how we receive love. Okay, let me wrap it up. But I will, at some point when I'm activated, I think I've said that word, maybe 100 times. But when I'm activated, I will speak on solo parenting from a different point of view. But I think today's one was just really, like I said, to encourage you and just let you know that you're not alone. We are here. We feel it. May not be the exact, feeling that you're going through, or we may not be in the same situation per se, but responsibility is responsibility. Sure, you need to show up in a certain way. We all have roles to play, and that's common. That's common amongst all of us. And yeah, do best. Lots and lots and lots and lots of love. Thank you for listening. I hope there's something that you were able to pick up and, take it with you. Let's keep healing. Let's keep showing up. Let's keep nurturing. Let's keep loving. Hi.